On October 5, 1960, a computer at a secret radar site in Thule, Greenland, reported with 99.9% certainty that a massive Soviet nuclear attack was underway. For the men in the NORAD war room, the apocalypse was exactly 1,600 seconds away, the precise time it takes for an ICBM to travel from the Soviet Union to Washington, D.C. But as the world stood on the precipice of total annihilation, a single officer looked out a window. There was no missile. There was only the moon rising over the horizon. This moment defines the architecture of our modern world, a reality where human survival is tethered to the logic of machines, and where the most consequential advancements in science are born in the black, shrouded in a secrecy so absolute that even presidents are sometimes denied the need to know. Welcome to Bases of the Apocalypse. Today, we look inside the Shadow Archives to explore the 70-year trajectory of secret technology from the radioactive craters of Area 51 to the autonomous artificial brains of DARPA. We must ask, have we built a system of systems so complex that it no longer requires our permission to function? To understand the secret technology of the future, we must return to the high desert of New Mexico in 1945. The atomic bomb was not just a weapon. It was the mother of all black projects. It established the rules for how the U.S. government would henceforth hide its most radical science from Congress and the public. When the Atomic Energy Commission, AEC, was formed in 1947, it inherited a parallel system of secret keeping that allowed it to rubber-stamp documents as born classified. This legal concept gives classification officers unanswerable authority. If a project is born classified, it stays hidden forever, regardless of its cost or ethical implications. This is the legal foundation of Area 51, located within the Nevada Test and Training Range. A land parcel roughly the size of Connecticut Area 51 was never just about spy planes. According to declassified memos, the base's first customer was the AEC, conducting pilot-related research without oversight or ethical controls as early as 1951. From the perspective of the system, this secrecy was a defensive necessity. The CIA's Richard Biesel argued that the remote desert facility provided a barrier of secrecy that protected decision-making from interference, allowing the U-2 and later the A-12 Oxcart to sustain flight at 70,000 feet a feet no other nation could achieve. However, the shadow of this secrecy hides what some call the wicked problems of the Cold War. Annie Jacobsen reveals a startling testimony from an original EG&G engineer that the famous 1947 Roswell crash was not extraterrestrial, but a Stalinist hoax. The theory suggests that Stalin, using captured German engineers like the Horten brothers, sent a craft peopled by children surgically altered by the Nazi doctor Joseph Mengele to resemble visitors from Mars, intending to incite mass panic in the U.S. While the official story remains weather balloons, the base was used to reverse engineer Stalin's hover technology, what engineers called EMF, or electromagnetic frequency. If Area 51 is the body of the secret state, DARPA is its brain. Created in 1958 in the wake of the Sputnik crisis, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency was mandated to ensure the United States would never again be taken by scientific surprise. DARPA does not conduct its own research. It functions as a venture capital firm for the apocalypse, hiring defense contractors and academics to create the future. Its research is consistently 10 to 20 years ahead of the public domain. Consider the technologies we use daily. The Internet, ARPANET, GPS, and stealth technology were all DARPA milestones developed decades before the public knew they existed. But DARPA's Orwellian programs often go unreported. In the early 1960s, DARPA's budget for Project Defender, a mission to find a defense against ICBMs, was roughly $100 million annually. nearly half of the agency's total budget at the time. By 1961, DARPA mathematicians calculated the 1,600 seconds rule, just 26 minutes and 40 seconds from a Soviet launch to the total annihilation of an American city. This desperation to win the time war led DARPA into the realm of exotic science, Project Seesaw. This was the first directed energy weapons program, exploring particle beams that could strike an incoming warhead at the speed of light, a Buck Rogers death ray that remains largely classified today. The dream of a system of systems was first combat tested in the damp wilderness of Laos and Vietnam. In 1966, an elite group of scientists known as the Jasons proposed an electronic fence to block the Ho Chi Minh Trail. This was Igloo White. It was the world's first automated battlefield. Imagine a forest wired like a smart home, but instead of adjusting the thermostat, the sensors call for airstrikes. Thousands of acoustic and seismic sensors disguised as tropical weeds or dropped by parachute. They sniffed for the smell of human urine and the vibration of trucks. Full cycle targeting. These sensors sent signals to orbiting drones, which relayed data to Task Force Alpha in Thailand, a building so secret it officially did not exist. There, IBM 360/65 mainframe computers, the most powerful of their era, processed the data into blips on a screen. The counterpoint. Despite a price tag of roughly $6 billion, the system was routinely defeated by low-tech ingenuity. North Vietnamese troops would hang bags of urine near the sensors or play recordings of truck engines to trigger ghost air strikes. Yet, the failure of Igloo White did not lead to its cancellation. In the logic of the military-industrial complex, it evolved. It became a Saltbreaker in the 1970s, intended to stop a Soviet tank invasion of Europe using brilliant self-guiding munitions. The evolution of secret technology reached its cultural and tactical zenith with the Predator drone. Originally designed by an irascible Israeli immigrant, Avraham Karam, the Predator was a lawnmower in the sky until the CIA and the Air Force realized its potential for targeted assassination. By the mid-1990s, the high-value target cell became a fixture of U.S. intelligence. In the 1999 Kosovo conflict, drones were hailed as CNN in the sky. But the reality was a soda straw view of the world with a visual acuity of 2200s, legal definition of blindness. General John Jumper, an ardent drone proponent, pushed to weaponize the machine. After 9/11s, the Predator went from a reconnaissance tool to a lethal platform. In a metal box at Creech Air Force Base, pilots wearing flight suits operated the drones via satellite links that stretched from Nevada to Ramstein, Germany, to the battlefields of Afghanistan. Latency. Drone pilots operate with a 2-second delay. This latency severes death from experience. In JSOC headquarters, staff watched the products of this technology on Kill TV, large plasma screens streaming real-time video of airstrikes. Statistics. During the hunt for Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the operation consisted of 600 hours of Predator time, followed by only 10 minutes of F-16 time. This shift in power from the pilot in the cockpit to the analyst at the screen transformed war into a global, bureaucratic manhunt. The most unsettling frontier of secret technology is not in the sky, but inside the human body. As General Paul Gorman noted in the 1950s, the human soldier is the weakling of the battlefield. To fix this, DARPA launched the Super Troop project in 1990, the origin of the modern military exoskeleton. But the research went deeper into the brain itself. DARPA, as Defense Sciences Office pioneered programs like AUG-2 augmented cognition and human-robot interaction. The goal was to create human-machine biohybrid cyborgs. Relevant programs: RAM, restoring active memory, using implantable wireless neuroprosthetics to overcome amnesia or, potentially, to program behavior. Repair and remind, surgical implantation of brain chips to understand how the brain makes and organizes computations. The 6-inch Black Widow drone. Developed in the 1990s, these insect-inspired micro-air vehicles, MAVs, were envisioned as micro-explosive bombs for indoor assassinations. The ethical warning: even the Jasons, often the most hawkish of advisors, issued a stern warning. They cautioned the Pentagon about the potential for abuses in brain-machine interface, noting that an adversary could use these interfaces for the remote guidance or control of a human being. We have now entered the final phase of secret technology, the transition from human-commanded systems to autonomous ones. In 2020, an AI called Mu-0 successfully commanded a U-2 surveillance aircraft on a test flight. It was the first time an AI operated a military aircraft and its radar systems autonomously, without direct human oversight. Unlike the nuclear era, where the magnitude of effect was concentrated and manageable through treaties, AI technology is dual-use and easily spread. This creates what Kissinger and Schmidt call strategies without acknowledged doctrines. The risks: opacity. AI weapons derive utility from being hidden. If you disclose their logic, the enemy can defeat it. Automation bias. In the 2010 Uruzgan drone incident, analysts were so eager to find targets that they misidentified children as military-aged males. MAMES. The unblinking eye. Systems like Gorgon Stare aim to transmit live video of an entire town simultaneously. The ultimate goal is to rewind the tapes of history to see who planted a bomb, a total mapping of human activity. For 70 years, the black world has maintained a technological lead that defies public comprehension. From the first V-2 rockets at White Sands to the Beast of Kandahar over Iran, the U.S. national security establishment has operated on the belief that the battlefield is no place for human beings. We have reached an epoch-defining moment. We are building one big robot, a global network of surveillance, drones, and AI that functions autonomously to mow the grass of insurgency forever. This system is like an iceberg. The public sees the tip, the iPhone, and the internet, while the massive weight beneath the water consists of apocalyptic contingency plans and weapons that can decide who lives and dies without a human ever pulling a trigger. This is a contested model. While proponents argue it creates a more precise and humane war with fewer American casualties, critics like Andrew Cockburn argue it is a journalistic Ponzi scheme, a cycle of high-tech failure that only generates more chaos and lucrative contracts. But these high-tech weapons were not built to sit in hangars. They were designed for the generational war. In our next episode, we look at the results, the doctrine of perpetual war.